Happy Halloween, horror hereticals! Hope all of you have a good time trick-or-treating, but do keep a lookout for anyone wearing a mechanic suit and a white-coloured William Shatner mask lurking in the dark corner. For this Halloween review, it was most apt that I bring you the latest addition to Bloody Disgusting and Shudder's VHS franchise, this time round going on the holiday route with Halloween. For those new to my channel, I did a comprehensive 40-odd minutes long review of the 7 previous VHS movies in conjunction of the release of Beyond last year, and I remembered saying in that video of my year-end top 10 that I was looking forward to the next VHS movie, and here we are. So as per the format of that review, I will dissect each segment and drive home how I felt about the plot and the execution of the segment in conjunction with the theme of the movie and the whole found footage horror aspect, as well as any interesting highlights of grotesque nature, not forgetting giving kudos to the writers and directors who spent the effort making these short films. So let's begin with the wraparound frame narrative known as Diet Phantasma. This was written and directed by Brian M. Ferguson, who predominantly make music videos which I have not seen before. Diet Phantasma was about a soft drink company Octagon trying to test a new soda for taste with various volunteered human subjects who did not realize one of the key ingredients was malevolent spirits, not the alcoholic kind, being infused into the drink. The poltergeists, when unleashed, became unadulterated and unfiltered with the harm they would cause to the subjects, resulting in their deaths, which Octagon blatantly did not specify in the indemnity form. The fun part was that there was a suction tube to recycle the recalcitrant poltergeists, which they would extract for the next batch of Diet Phantasma. The whole research team looking through a windowed confined space reminded me of Total Copy by David Bruckner from VHS 85, which was the frame narrative for that movie. The plot of this segment was a commentary on how unethical some of these food industries were with regards with causing long-term health ailments to their consumers, and the manager in this segment would not look out of place in perhaps a movie like RoboCop 2. However, infusing ghostly entities into soft drinks is certainly something very novel, which even the Ghostbusters could not accomplish. I am not a big fan of the predominant orange tinge of the whole segment, and when the blood red came splattering on the screen, it looked terribly gaudy. The only Halloween connection, perhaps it was due to release in the Halloween season, and the Phantasma would be a gimmick to lure prospective consumers. The first actual segment is called Kuchi Kuchi Ku, from writer-director Anna Zlokovich. The title implied something to do with babies, and certainly had echoes of Stock from Beyond, but way less exciting in the storytelling. High school girls Lacey and Kaylee went trick-or-treating on Halloween night, dressed in costumes and filming it down like it was the last Halloween fun before college or something. In the midst of going door to door, the pair started recalling an urban legend of a cheerleader that had disappeared and been warned about an entity in the neighborhood known simply as the Mother. The pair would stumble into a house which became a trap with entrance door that disappeared, and strange creatures started crawling out of the woodworks. They were the victims of the Mother, and soon the pair would join the ranks. Kuchi might be the most traditional found footage haunted house storytelling in terms of aesthetics. The part with the Mother appearing out of the darkness gave me a couple of frightening moments, and the story of the immense hatred with her being raped and ending her own life out of pure grudge of not wanting to give birth to the child of the perpetrator was something very much familiar to my part of the world. The makeup was decent, but the scare factor didn't hold till the end. Neither was the performances from the young actresses hooked me in. Director Zlokovich had made the movie Appendage in 2023, which was a psychological body horror about women's inner thoughts coming to life. Art Supra Sic Infra, or translated as Above, So Below, is directed by Spanish director Paco Plaza and written by Plaza and Italian screenwriter Alberto Marini. The customary foreign film segment is the one perhaps with the most interesting premise. The footage taken by the law enforcement with a sole survivor under custody from a Halloween party gone gustily wrong in an abandoned mansion in Madrid. The segment began with the news report of how young people would all perish in the mansion with their eyes dug out in the most grotesque fashion. Enric, the survivor, would bring the police to the scene of the crime and reenact what really happened to him and his friends and why he was the only survivor. It felt like this was some curse set on this dilapidated mansion, and the young people did not heed the advice to steer clear, and when they done the forbidden, they had to pay the price with their lives. Of course, things would not end kindly for the people who was unraveling the case as well, as we went through a cool visual sequence as the police GoPro filmed the whole process and blindsided everyone, even the audience, very literally. Director Paco Plaza might be the most well known in the horror genre for this anthology film, having made the 3 Rec movies as well as a movie in 2023 titled Hermana Muerte or Sister Death, about the paranormal experience of a newly recruited teacher in an all-girls convent school. This was the second collaboration between Plaza and Marini, as the latter wrote Plaza segments in the Spanish horror anthology series Historias para no dormir, or Stories to Stay Awake. Fun Size is written and directed by Casper Kelly, about 2 couples leaving their Halloween party in search of candies. Before stumbling into a communal bowl of candies outside a house, they did not adhere to the rule of 1 candy per person and got sucked in, literally, into a parallel world ruled by a life-size mascot of candy called Fun Size. So in a cartoony Willy Wonka's chocolate factory style of body horror, Fun Size would stalk our 4 protagonists and put them through some visceral mutilation. There was little wonder why this segment felt very cartoony. After all, Casper Kelly came from the world of animation and was involved in creation of many Adult Swim series, including a feature film called Adult Swim U-Lock, which possessed horror elements. Fun Size would be the most negligible segment in VHS Halloween, but I do like the part about one of the girls evidently hated the guts of her fiancé, and the mortal dangers they face might come in the right time for her to ditch her man. Kid Print is next, and written and directed by renowned independent director Alex Ross Perry. In 1992, in an unspecified American town, the serial adoption and eventual demise of many young children and teenagers led parents and law enforcement in a frantic state to safeguard the young ones from being the next victim. Tim Kaplan, who owned a local video store, created a service called Kid Prints, which helped document the children in the town to help the police track the children in case they were being abducted. I understand in the 1990s, where biometric tracking or other more advanced manner in expediting a manhunt were unavailable, a videotape recording of the child, like in the form of an audition tape, felt like the next best option. Tim felt like a friendly and caring guy for this community, and he went around during the Halloween period with his camcorder, hoping he could document the place and people, and most importantly, picking out any suspicious characters lurking around. Despite Tim's efforts, young people continued to disappear, and the victims starting to pop out from the list of patrons to his Kid Prints program. He thought his tapes could be of use to the police, only to find out that they were tools for the perpetrators. Alex Ross Perry was famous for his indie films like Listen Up Philip and Her Smell, and had been making some concept films of late, including Right Here Right Now for the Swedish heavy metal band Ghost, which imbued the dark religious elements. Perhaps that was the closest horror material Perry had dabbled in his filmography. I actually thought Kid Print was a decent short film about the danger lurking in every suburban neighborhood, and how the community's effort to stymie the string of abductions and murders could come to fruition until they would be outsmarted by the same system to protect the young ones. I was quite caught up with the story, but I was queasy about the bodily harm to the young children, which of course was suggested, yet the screaming for help was a bit hard to sit through. The final segment is titled Home Haunt, written and directed by directing couple Micheline Pete Norman and R.H. Norman. Building elaborate haunted house and allowing people in the neighborhood to explore had been an annual event for father and son Keith and Zach. While Keith was anticipating for another monumental haunted house adventure, teenage son Zach was starting to lose his interest in the collaboration. When the pair went to pick up decorations for the haunted house from the local gimmick store, Keith was forewarned to steer clear from some items which he totally disregarded. On the night of Halloween, some parents with excited kids, some teenagers who felt eager to laugh at Keith's amateur hour, and one neighbor who hated Keith's gut and his haunted house even more, were streamlining into that year's edition of the haunted house. As Zack was reluctantly roped into the whole procession and felt like it would be his swan song, no one could imagine something Keith had picked up from the store could cause the scary paraphernalia in the haunted house to come alive and in a life-threatening manner. The Normans were relatively well known for the 2021 fantastical horror short film Grummy, which you can watch on YouTube. It felt like Boo and Sally's from Pixar's Monster Inc., placing a real threat closer to home. It was seamless for the pair to translate the fantastical idea with a lot of visual effects and sprinkled with copious amount of gore into Home Haunt, which also added little to the anthology film. In conclusion, VHS Halloween was on full blast with the screams and gore. I thought the filmmakers did not fully utilize the Halloween elements. Of course, you would say what else besides costume parties and trick-or-treat. Art Supra Sick Infra was the most noteworthy of the lot, but you can take away the Halloween part and nothing will change in the story. I enjoyed Kid Print, but could not endure the harm to young children, even by mere suggestions. Kuchiku had its moments, while the other two I could do without, and Diet Phantasma certainly overstayed its welcome. I would say this was underwhelming after a string of success in the franchise since the return in 2021. Perhaps this could measure up to VHS 94 from that year. VHS Halloween is barely 7 out of 10 for me. Despite the dour turn in the end and the overall rating, I hope you can still help by clicking a like for this video and subscribing to KK's Horror Heretics if you are new to this channel. If you have no interest in a found footage anthology horror, perhaps a recent J-horror in Dollhouse by director Yaguchi Shinobu might whet your appetite. It certainly felt like the VHS franchise is going into the holiday mode. I suppose Thanksgiving is next and then Christmas and New Year to follow. If that's the case, Turkey Baster in horror is making a comeback.